Welcome to this soul-driven podcast. And our very first guest is Aletheia Sophia, or maybe Aletheia Sophia. But we'll get into that in a minute. Right now we're sitting in your chapel. Who gets to have their own chapel? You do. So welcome. And just to introduce how our path get to cross, it all started with a man, your man Pete, that I met 8 years ago in a festival. And what, besides him being a beautiful man with a pure soul, something really caught my attention. And that was that he was wearing an Isis necklace. And I was completely paralyzed, or I don't know, that's not the right word. I got so attracted to that necklace, and I just felt like I have to follow the necklace. And afterwards I followed him on Facebook and just felt like someday there's something there.
Yes.
And then I saw that he went to France and he met this woman, and then some years passed. And then I was going on vacation in France with my husband, and I said, now it's the time to see Montsegur. I've tried to see this place for 20 years and it was never the right time. And then I said, wait a minute, I remember Pete met a woman and she has a bed and breakfast. Maybe it's in the same area. And we looked it up, and of course it's right there. And not only that, but you turned out to be like an expert in all of these mysteries of the south of France and Mary Magdalene and the Cathars. And since then it was just like entering and opening a treasure chest. Mm-hmm. And I think that's about 6 years ago.
Yeah. And
after that I went home. We had some magical days, and I went home and I came back 2 weeks later to do your Sacred Body Awakening training. So I would love for you to share your story about how your life turned out the way it did, because it seems like you have really been following the call of your soul.
Well, hello everybody. Very nice to meet you all, even though I can't see you. It does seem that way, and when I look back, there is most definitely a very strong thread, very strong presence right from the very beginning. When I was born, I was an only child, and I felt extremely awkward. Couldn't really figure out where I'd landed, and despite loving my parents enormously, they felt a little bit different to me, until one day, coming down the steps of Sacré-Cœur with my dad. I was about 6 years old, and I was drawn to what looked like a homeless man begging on the steps. And I could not walk past him without interacting with him. So if you can imagine, a little girl with a knee-high dress runs up to this young man and sort of begs for his attention. And he lifted his eyes up, and he was full of love and full of light and full of sparkle. And I can remember my little girl's voice simply saying this: there's another one of us here. And I cried and I cried, and I didn't want to go away from him. I begged Mum and Dad, can we take him home? And I realized he wasn't hungry, he wasn't looking for money. He was full, he didn't need anything. And that was the beginning, because that was when I saw love. I saw the enormity of love, the purity of love, the presence of love. And then, of course, I went back to my everyday life and just carried on growing up. When I was 12, I asked Mum and Dad if I could become a nun, because I had a feeling that this person called Jesus was also full of that love that I saw on Sacré-Cœur. And by this time I realized I'm not bumping into it all that often, but maybe if I become a nun, I can actually be in that presence a little bit more. They both said, no, you're not old enough to ask for such things.